and this is the global forecast for December 2015. For those of you who have watched my videos over the years, you know that I've postulated and predicted that December 2015 is going to be a culminative time for many, many individuals and situations, both personal and global. At the start of December 2015, I see no reason to change my mind on this. Let's look at one or two of the major factors here. Let's get rid of a few of the major factors first. Firstly, I'm not really that worried about the influence of Jupiter. In Virgo, trucking along nicely, about to go retrograde, not really hitting too many people. Neither am I looking at Venus. Venus in Scorpio, most of the month, no big deal, not being proactive. The full moon on December the 25th at 3 degrees of Cancer, that's not really that much of an influence. And even the new moon in Sagittarius on December the 11th, that's quite a healthy one, trining Uranus and actually doing quite well for a number of people. Those people who have had quite a lot of stimulating change over this year should see some good results coming around that time. But the major factors here involve the planets I've not mentioned. Firstly, there's the Saturn-Neptune square, which is biting. The flood of empathy, of refugees, the environmental concerns, which are very strong at the start of December, as epitomised by the climate conference, out of which I'm expecting a lot of nice words, but still not a lot of action, because much though I would love it, I cannot see the world turning around and giving up its profit and its economic viability and its brand new cars and coal-fired power and nuclear power stations just so that the grandchildren can have a future. And I realise how depressing that sounds, but it's probably the case. Needs to be some type of trauma or disaster to make that happen. And Saturn square Neptune will bring that, although probably not until March, April of next year. And the Saturn-Neptune square is fading out as we get into December. What isn't fading out is the Uranus-Pluto square. I know I've not gone on about it much in the last 6 months because it has been slowly dissipating. Uranus has been pulling away from Pluto, but now Pluto's moving forward at a rate of knots. Uranus is still retrograde and they're getting very, very close. For the final time, Uranus stands still on December the 26th, starts moving forward again, and the more we get into February and March, the more we will be able to say Uranus-Pluto is finally pulling away and significantly decreasing. Thing is, Mars is in Libra, and at the start of this month, for the first week and a half to 2 weeks, Mars in the sky is going to be squaring Pluto and opposing Uranus. Mars opposite Uranus, T-square Pluto. That is the T-square from hell. That is not a gentle, sensitive, fluffy aspect. That is an aspect of outrage, of aggression, of violence. Mars opposite Uranus is dynamic. It is projective and assertive. And even with Mars in Libra, it's still going to be damn feisty. Problem is, the square to Pluto means it's also going to be subversive, underhand, probably manipulative, and unfortunately, I do expect over the coming week or two, at least at the start of December, an element of trauma to be ongoing. I don't think we've seen the end of the challenges of 2015 yet. But by the time Mars is towards the end of Libra, by the time we're into the second half of December, I honestly think we'll be able to wrap up the Uranus-Pluto square and say that's that now. And certainly, the more we get into the new year, Mars moves into Scorpio and then into Sagittarius, where it hits the Saturn-Neptune square. And then next year, we're all going to be talking much more about the environment and philosophy and religion and education instead of terrorism and angst and war and fear. But meantime, we've got to get to the new year. I think that the first couple of weeks of this month are going to bring the downfall of one or two very prominent political figures. And I kind of holding my breath. It's not the easiest time of the year. It's a challenging time, and I expect further radical developments before mid-December. If the Earth were my client, and all of its people were one person and my client, I would be saying, look, practice being Teflon coated now. There is no way that we can make radical changes now without disrupting the flow, and yet radical change is what is being asked. So it's going to be tumultuous, it's going to be unpredictable, it's going to be a bit crazy, at least in the first 2 weeks. Hold your breath, folks. Stay Teflon coated. Keep looking at the stars, keep looking at the skies, keep listening to the astrologers, because sometimes we're the only people that make any sense. And by the time we're into mid-December, we're in a much better space. And by January, I'll be giving a big sigh of relief. As far as December 2015 goes, world, have an honest month.